For many people, it is too dangerous to be asking questions nowadays. You know, you're allowed to see the truth, you're allowed to hear the truth, you're even allowed to hear the right information. But if you do, and if you decide to act in accordance to that which is greater and that which is higher, based off of that truth and information, then you might lose your career, you might lose your relationships, you might lose your livelihood altogether, you might lose the people in your social group, you might lose your social status. But ultimately, we've tried to be courteous, we've tried to be merciful, we've tried to be true, and I still say we ought to have the mindset of being true and living in spirit and truth, but we've tried being courteous, and it's time to be ruthless now. There's no more time for pity-pattered patty cake BS that so many people are wanting to have us godly people continue to be involved with. They want us so perturbed and unable to do anything about it, and it's just disgusting. It's horrible to watch. It's horrible to see the world go through what it's going through right now. I mean, it's no secret for anybody that has two eyes and two ears. What's so crazy about all of this is how, specifically in the US, everything looks pretty okay. Everything looks all right. There's a lot of things that, wow, I mean, we still kind of look like we've got our stuff together. You know, things look all right. And yet, for some reason, there's this lingering effect of doom on the horizon. And I think a lot of that has to deal with what's going to happen here in November with the United States anyway. That's the election of our presidency for those that are watching around the globe. And I think depending on what happens there is going to determine the rest of the year as far as I'm concerned, and the rest of the decade as far as what's going to happen in the West, because it seems like there's an echo of all of this stuff that has been going on, and there's an echo of what's been happening in the US starting to proliferate itself across the world. I've had consultations now with people in probably over 20 different countries, and it's amazing to see how similar and yet how not so similar we are in many ways and shapes and forms when it comes to societal issues and relationship issues and all that kind of stuff. And you know, it's really, I don't even know quite the word for it. It's disturbing, to say the least, on how our leadership is handling certain things. It's disturbing, to say the least, but that's why I advocate that we've got to take control of our own lives, and we got to start being ruthless with our decision making. We've got to start being ruthless with how we interact with the world. Look, anybody that's watching this video and probably knows what it's like to be a doormat. They probably know what it's like to try to hustle their way through life. And I don't mean gamble. I don't necessarily mean gamble your way through life, right? I mean, you're doing everything that you can to succeed with the limited amount of resources you have. And even though you're out there in the world, you're getting your daily bread, it doesn't mean that it isn't easy, and it doesn't mean that it's always in thriving mode. I meet so many people, and I swear that their lives are just a facade. They want to be praised for their actions all the time. They want to be seen as somebody that's just so much more than they are. The thing is I don't hide. I'm not necessarily the kind of person that says, you know, what you see is what you get. But I'm also the kind of person not to lie to you. I'm not going to be a facade to you. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment right now, in like a quadplex of a house. I have a 2006 Honda Accord. These are not really materialistic things that I have. Could I do something more? Of course. But why would I? I don't need to just yet. It's better to invest my time more than to spend my time at this point in my life. In fact, I think that's just going to be a lifestyle change, right? And I've talked a little bit about this in my other videos before, but if you're not investing your time and if you're not investing your money, you're not going to actually get any kind of differentiating ROI on anything. Because remember, time and money are concepts. Time doesn't really exist, and money doesn't really exist. I'm not saying that you should just forget about time and forget about money, but these are concepts for a reason. You know, tomorrow is a concept. We are just living in this universe as we are, and it's not to say that we don't age, because we do have physical bodies that are going to grow up and they're going to get older, and you know, the consciousness that we have in the body that we have, the body that we have is a vessel for our consciousness. The body that we have is just it's just flesh, and it's not to say that it's not necessarily not meaningful, but it's to say also that it's not the most meaningful thing. When you really grow up as a man and you put away childish things like the Bible says, and there's a verse in Romans as well, I think it's Romans 12:2 that I think about it now, and it says something along the lines of be constantly renewed, or renew your own mind and be reformed by your own mind to see that which is perfect and good and just and etc. And what that really is saying, that verse is really saying, is if you're not continually renewing yourself, evolving, not only as a consciousness, but as a human being, what you're doing is stagnating and regressing. And you've got to sit there and ask yourself, is watching Netflix really the thing that you ought to be doing right now? Or are you going to be preparing for war? You know, so many people want the doom and gloom. So many people want the doom and gloom to come. And I in fact might do a video on that, because it seems to me like every time I talk about God's glory and the greatness of God, holy crap, the views just... And I'm not necessarily a numbers guy, but I do value the people that want to hear the message, and I do value how people are interpreting the message, because that's good feedback. But holy moly, if all you guys want to hear about is doom and gloom, you've come to the wrong freaking channel, man. You've come to the wrong channel. And this is part of the ruthless attitude that you're going to need to develop. This is part of the godlike savage mentality that you need to develop, especially if you're a man. If you're a woman, you be your warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic self. Like you do that. In fact, that's something that I would very much encourage. But us men, you need to get that godlike savage mentality together. Stop wasting your dang time trying to just wish things into existence, and start making stuff happen. Start actually putting in effort to see what you want to see come into fruition. Because even if you fail doing so, do you think God is going to see that and punish you for it? You will still be rewarded in one way, shape, or form or another. I've seen it time and time again. In fact, even just within the last few weeks for myself, I realized I made a great error in my time and the way that I was investing my time, because I didn't foresee a certain obstacle that came up. Well, I've taken care of the obstacle now, But that doesn't mean that, that time that I spent trying to overcome the obstacle was obsolete. It doesn't mean that that time that I spent was just wished away, was washed away. I'm still going to apply that time and make use of that time. And I'll tell you, it's very important for you to do this as a man, to learn from everything you can instead of having this victim mentality. The only person that you're helping in the victim mentality are the same people that are pulling your dang strings. The only people you are really helping with your victim mentality, this, oh, I don't know if I can do it, I can't do it attitude, are the people that want to see you fail. And guess what? Let's say you even try and you do fail. Who cares about those other people? Because at least you did what you wanted to do. At least you did what you thought was right. Did you know it was going to be helpful immediately? Perhaps not. Did you want to see something really thrive and prosper? Yes. And so even if you fail, which if you have any kind of semblance of self-belief, you're not going to fail. Because you're going to make it one way or another, dang it. And that's the way that I see it. And all these people, all these demons that want to see you out here, that want to pull you back into the bucket, that want to make everybody in your way, they want to put everybody in your way and everything in your way. And you got to be not just the unstoppable force, but also the immovable object, right? This is where you got to get to at this point in your life. And this is where I'm at in my life. So we're done being courteous. I'm not saying you can't be cordial, but obviously the world is changing, and you've got to change and adapt and evolve with it. Otherwise, you're going to be either left behind. Look, here's another thing. You're either creating the future with the actions that you are doing, not just for yourself, but for the people all around, or you're falling into degeneracy and sin. So keep that in mind as you go about your day. And with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful, and hopefully it gave you some inspiration to go out and do something. You can do anything you want in this life. You really can. And I'm living proof of that. I'm sitting out here in the middle of the afternoon on a lunch, hanging out with you guys, because I know that I need to put the work in. This is life. Especially as a man, we've got to put away the childish things, and we've got to move forward and really put ourselves in a position to where we're not only prepared, but if something does come, we're ready to take action. We're not just prepared, we're going to take action if things come along. And with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful, and until next time, peace be with you.